Hey guys, welcome to today's show. I'm so glad to have a really good friend of mine, Art Burns, on the show today. And what I love about Art and the impression that he made on me the first time we met was just the way that he was full of expression uh, and how he's just so deeply honest with the way that he shares himself with the world, which I think is a really rare trait these days, in a world where people are scared of being themselves because of fear of judgment and fear of not being accepted. He has a huge heart for the causes that he believes in, and we're going to touch on that in today's interview. And he's just really strongly aligned with his values. So I'm just really grateful for Art to give his time to be on. And I'm really looking forward to just delving a little bit deeper into the person and his values and his principles and the way he lives his life that's caused him to be the kind of man he is today. So Art, thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's great. So let's go straight in. Art, I'd like to give you an opportunity to maybe share briefly about your background, some of the things that you've been through that have really shaped you to where you are today.
Sure, I'd love to. So, back in the around the turn of the last millennium, I was part of the advertising industry in New York City. So, picture Mad Men, the 2000 edition.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And and you talk about fear of judgment and things like that. It was literally a Shark Tank every day, and it really, really took a great toll on me. And I feel that those experiences that I had really have shaped my belief system in sort of getting back to my ground, as opposed to being part of that that world of just insanely driven and just really cutthroat attitudes. And so yeah, it's very clear that I never belonged in there to begin with, and but I use those experiences to shape the way that I live my life now.
Sure. Wow, that's a stark contrast, I would say, to the Art that I've gotten to know over the past year. So how did you end up in that kind of environment? In New York, did you say?
Yeah. I grew up in New York City. My father was in the printing business, and so I just kind of joined the family business, and it was as a vendor to the ad agencies, and eventually just wound up in that world. And yeah, it was it is as glamorous as they say. I was flying business class to Europe every month, and representing Rolex and doing really high class stuff. But at the same time, it's like it's almost just a veneer that that just hides a really really difficult life. So
Right. And would you mind sharing like some of the underneath the surface of what made it difficult? What were some of the challenges that you faced in that industry?
yeah, well, number one, it was high stress. It was from the minute I would wake up in the morning until I dragged myself home at night with quite a few cocktails in me most nights. It was just nonstop stress. It was literally like, I remember, we were among the first people who had Blackberries, and it was like, you get emails at 11, 12 o'clock at night, regularly. And just it was like I say, it was just an insanely driven atmosphere. And because you're always serving ultimately a big client, it was always, I don't know, there just seemed to be this insane pressure that was just constant, and it was never let up. Even I remember even one time that I was painting the bedroom of my daughter, who was a few weeks away from birth. And even when I took that day off, and it was even a Saturday, but I had to like take a Saturday off. And even then I wound up on the phone like most of the day. And so even this, like, really, there was no room for life in that world. And that was really one of the things that, when that happened with my daughter's bedroom, actually, that was like a turning point for me. And I kind of realized that there's something wrong with these priorities. And
Yeah.
and again, that's shaped how I live my life now. So
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow.
yeah.
So you said that it was your father that was in that business, and so
Mhm.
you kind of naturally inherited that type of path. So it wasn't really by free choice.
You could say that, yeah. Inherited with muscle, maybe.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
And what would you say, like you really learned from that? I mean, of course, you mentioned that you recognize that the work-life balance was out of the window, and it took this trigger of, you're getting ready for the most important day of your life at that point, your daughter's birth, and you were called to work, and you didn't have a choice in the matter. um what other kind of things what did you learn about yourself in that time?
Well, I'm not sure that I learned anything at that time, but what I've learned looking back on it is, the importance of really, of living life on one's own terms to an extent. Obviously we all have to work, and we all have to, serve, and we all have to, maintain our responsibilities and live up to those responsibilities. But um, the biggest lesson I think that came out of it was to sort of stake out my own turf, if you will. And now I live with a very, very solid and non-negotiable morning routine. The first hour of my day is mine, and it's nobody else's. And that's one of those things that I just never, it was never encouraged, but I never figured it out on my own either. And that's and a lot of people that I talk to now, who are still in that kind of world, that's the biggest thing that they lack too. Just the idea of owning at least part of their life, that's sort of sacrosanct from the business that they're in, and I think that's what leads to stress and burnout more than anything else, probably, in my
Yeah,
experience anyway.
absolutely. So I mean, and that's a tragic set of circumstances to end up in, isn't it, really, to find that there isn't an area of your life that you can, put a stake in the ground and claim
Right.
because of other responsibilities. That's wow. So,
Yeah.
and so at that point, then, I don't know if it was at that point that you made the decision that something had to change. But when you made the decision, what was that process like? What type of action? How drastic was the action? What did you do?
It was scary, I'll be honest with you. In fact, actually, the decision was kind of made for me. In the financial crash of 2008, I was, I found myself, part of the layoffs and stuff. And so at that point, I had a decision to make, which was either to somehow grapple my way back into that business, probably take a lower pay and, more responsibilities for less money, kind of thing, and just kind of continue on with that now with a 6-month-old daughter, um, or I could choose to just, be brave and figure out something else to do. And so I chose the path of bravery, and it was, again, it was very, very scary. It was very uncomfortable, but and at the time, and that's, I think, one of the reasons why, people put up with that sort of, stressful career, because it seems somehow safe. It seems safer than what the unknown might be, and it was really, really tempting to sort of find that comfort, even though it was so uncomfortable. But in retrospect, I'm really, really happy that I didn't go back to that. And so what we did was, my wife and I actually broke open the piggy bank, and we opened a small cafe in New York that was walking distance from my house. So even though I wound up working, more hours, I was at least working for myself, and I was at least very close to my family. And then as, sorry to be long-winded here, but then finally the time came where we actually were able to sell that business, and now I'm in an entrepreneurial position that I have much more control over what I'm doing. And,
Yeah,
looking back on it, I don't regret any decisions, but it definitely, there were times of discomfort and fear.
yeah, yeah. And that's great. And you picked up on a very good point there, that even though we might be stressed out, even though we don't like what we're doing and we don't like the situation we're in, it's still more comfortable to be familiar in that environment than it is to step out into that kind of world of uncertainty
Hmm.
and all the risks that might come with that, is what
Hmm.
you're saying.
Exactly.
But somehow you had a bigger motivation to actually step into that unknown and
Hmm.
to brave the challenges and to overcome them and to set up the cafe. And from there it's led to where you are now. So what happened after the cafe?
Well, again, it's not like I went from this really stressful life to like, oh, kick my feet up. Like running a little cafe is really, really much harder than I thought it would be at the time. So I found myself, it almost had the frying pan into the fire kind of feel for a while. And but the one thing that happened in the cafe, and this was really interesting, I'm really happy to be able to share this too, because one thing that happened in the cafe was that I was able to tap into a higher purpose in that work. And I'll explain how. I owned the place for about 8 years. So I would say in about the fifth year of ownership, I realized that I was in a place where I could help people. And it was very, very simple. I mean, it was just that I had leftover food at the end of every day, and so instead of just throwing it away, I actually started by just setting up a table outside the cafe while the guys cleaned up and closed up the shop. And I would, get volunteers who were customers to just sit there and just hand out, free food to people who were in need. And in the area where we lived, there were quite a few, uh, less fortunate people who were, living without homes, and so we were able to do that, and that grew into another program, which I started, which we had. I had a local artist draw this picture of a tree, right? And I got like thousands of red and pink heart-shaped Post-it notes, right? And so a customer could come in, and for $2 they could buy a red heart, and we put it up on the tree, and for $1 they could buy a pink heart, and we put it up on the tree. And so then people who, one of the things that I found with sort of giving away free food is that, while yes, you are helping people, you're not helping them with dignity. And when people are down and out and having a really hard time with life, dignity is a really, really important and very valuable thing. And so what we realized working with my wife on this is that if we did this, people could just come in and there were no questions asked. They literally just picked a heart off the tree and said, "Here, I'll take an egg sandwich," kind of thing. And that grew into this real sense of power of altruism for me. And it was a real big shift in my life. And I think I knew from that moment, without really clearly knowing it, I think that was the moment where I realized that I needed to do something that was really helping people. And that was the beginning of the process that's, found me where I am now.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
thanks, man.
love that. And
Thank you.
to think that you didn't set out to put that tree in the coffee shop, right? But it's like the
Right.
step at a time. And because you took that step of faith from leaving your full-time job, which launched the coffee shop, and then out of that sprouted like that, more goodness, and helping people. And I love that. Yeah, that dignity. You're absolutely right. It's so important to give people that.
Yeah,
And so then from there, and maybe this is leading up to the timeline where we cross paths,
exactly.
coaching space. So tell me about that, what your experience in that area and what you were looking to achieve.
Well, I was along the way, right around the time of the Heart Project, the tree of love that we called it. Right around that time, I discovered the practice of mindfulness, and I started to learn about emotional intelligence, and as I started practicing and learning about these things, I realized how much that was absent from my life, and how important it was, and how much it would have, like I even say today, like if I had known then what I know now, I'd probably still be in the advertising business, making a lot of money and, somehow enjoying that life, but and that's now what I'm trying to reach out to people who are in that place, and don't feel like you said, a lot of times it's really, it's prohibitively scary to leave that job, especially if at the time when I did it, I only had my one daughter was just born. So it was, but if you have, kids who are, middle school age, you're thinking about college, you're thinking about, you got a house with a big mortgage, it's not so simple just to like break out of that. So what I do now is I try to reach back to those folks who are in that position, not necessarily able to get out of it, and try to bring that level of emotional intelligence and just sort of, a mindfulness in the sense of just being present with yourself, and the power that can generate for you, and the power and the happiness that it can generate for you, and the, sort of, yeah. So I'm not sure how to articulate it
Yeah, no,
anymore.
no, you articulated it very well. I love it. And as I said, that you're just full of expression, and it's great, Art. So taking that kind of vision and that kind of newfound mission that you had, um, and then putting it into this coaching world would require, I guess, developing a new set of skills, right? You need the framework and the structure, and so I mean, how was that for you? Were there
It's
transferable skills in there? Or how challenging was that?
it's been there's been a lot of challenges. There's no question about it. But I was fortunate enough to be able to set myself up. That I had a couple of years to develop this. Financially and everything, just from the sale of the business and stuff. So we I've just been it's been a challenging process, but at the same time, it's been just such a rewarding process too, because I've been working on me, and so and developing, like you say, there is a skill set involved that some of it was borrowed from some of my skill set before, to be in the corporate world, and certainly to be the face of a restaurant, you have to have expressiveness, you have to have, be able to like really communicate and sort of manage that sort of emotions, so I feel like I definitely did have a base to rely on or to refer back to, but yeah, there were definitely a lot of struggles, and there's been times where it's, I'm not gonna lie, there's been times where it's like, well, maybe I should just go get another job because this is so hard. But again, then it seems almost like every time I start thinking that way, there's some evidence of somebody that I've helped, and somebody like, will send me an email or post something on Facebook and just remind me of what I've done for them. And then that just like, it like fills up your gas tank, and it's like, okay, I can go another, month. Let's go,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just been sort of bridging that along.
yeah. Yes. I mean, there's so much power um, behind the sense of contributing to something that's bigger than yourself,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
motivation is so much stronger than thinking in a self-centered way, and they're thinking, well, I want to do something for me, I want to build this, I want to have this, I want to achieve this, or
Mhm.
acquire this. But when you think about the other people, someone else outside of yourself, there's just so much more drive behind
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
That's what you found, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Great. So tell me, Art, like, what interesting projects are you working on at the minute?
I'm really glad you asked, because I'm right in the middle of something. Because actually, to the point that you just made, in my studies over the last couple of years, one thing that I've learned that I've really resonated with is that when we act or focus our attention on the idea of compassion for others, right? Which obviously was something that was natural to me, I didn't even realize, but when we do that, we're actually activating parts of our brain that are associated with happiness, and so literally, like, we talk about, yes, giving to others, and that's so important, but at the same time, we don't realize it's actually making us happier, and it's making us more whole, on a brain integration level. And I don't want to get too technical about it here, but
Yeah,
it's been really wonderful, and so that's inspired me to do a project that I just started, about a week ago now. Actually today is 1 week, called the 33 Days of Compassion Challenge. We hear about challenges, there's, 30 days, make $1 million in 30 days, lose 100 pounds in 30 days, all these
yeah,
different challenges. And so I thought one day, I was like, I want to challenge people to live with compassion for a full month, and 33 days I chose because it's sort of the halfway point to the point where they feel like a habit is fully formed.
yeah.
So
Okay.
the science behind forming a habit is, if you reach the 33-day mark, then it's very, very likely that you're going to, finalize the process and form a true habit. And so if I can get, a number of people to live with the habit of compassion, that happiness that I'm going to give them, and then how that's going to affect their lives and all the people that they deal with, it just feels like, when you talk about a higher purpose, like I feel like this is an opportunity for me to affect so many people on such a really, really beautiful and wonderful way. And I'm happy to report that it's working. And up until this morning, it's been blind. I've been just sort of sending the emails out, doing the Facebook lives, and not hearing anything back from it. But just this morning, I got 3 different emails from clients from not clients, but from people who are in this program. I'm not charging any money for it or anything; it's totally free.
Yeah.
And I've gotten responses this morning that were just like, one woman was saying that, she's now getting up a little earlier, and she's doing her meditation in the morning, and it's affected her relationship with her children. And she's like, I can't thank you enough. And it's only been 1 week. So I'm just,
Wow.
my heart is like fluttering.
That is cool. That is
Isn't
so
that?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so. I would love to ask a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Compassion. Like could you break that down for us, Art? What does that mean, and how do you practice that?
Okay. So um, there's a lot of sort of conflation between the idea of empathy and the idea of compassion. So empathy is obviously a very important thing. Empathy requires for us to really feel the pain of another person, right? But one of the things that they've realized through studying brain scans of people who've been practicing compassion and empathy for a long time, is that the areas that in the brain that are affected by empathy are in the emotional center of the brain, and it's including the amygdala, which means that like there's an urgency to it, and a pain that's being felt, because obviously you're feeling the other person's pain. And what they found is that's actually what leads to what they call empathic distress. And like, so nurses who work in like hospice care deal with this burnout from this empathic distress, because just feeling someone's pain, you're only causing yourself pain over and over again. But what they found is that by exercising compassion, you shift that activity to, like I said, this different part of your brain where you're actually, it's the same areas of the brain that a mother feels for her children, and it's rewarding, and it gives you more life. It's like the opposite of burnout. So that's like the scientific basis for it. But also I just feel like in this world, obviously, there's so much going on that shows a lack of compassion.
Mm.
And again, like going back to the advertising days, there's not much compassion in that world either, because it's all business, it's all driven by, what's in it for me, like make more money, accomplish more feats of financial success. And um and so I just felt like there's a true need for this in the world. And so I'm just trying to inject my little,
Yeah, yeah. And you're not
as
trying,
much as
you're
I
you're
can.
you're doing it. You're
Thank you.
doing it. And there's proof of that, where you're getting the responses you're getting, and that's only going to fuel you even more, because
Right.
it shows that it's working. I love that.
Right.
Thank you so much for doing
Yeah.
that. And so how would I do compassion?
Cool. Yeah, I know you asked that in the last question. Sorry. So there's a number of different ways. So the way I've designed this program is, again, it's based on a lot of the mindfulness practices that I've developed over the last couple of years. And so the first thing that I'm doing is, for the first couple of weeks, is we're doing a daily meditation. Just 4 minutes long for the first week. The next week, we're going to bump it up to 8 minutes starting tomorrow. And basically it's just about repeating phrases of self-love. Okay, so just very simple phrases. May I be well, may I be free from suffering, may I be free from fear and insecurity, may I feel loved, may I be happy. Right, just that, just repeat that over and over and over to yourself for 4 or 5 minutes in the morning. And what that does is that develops a habit. As you repeat it over and over and over again, it gets into your subconscious, because so many of us are, especially in America, self-loathing is a huge thing for us. It's like the
Mm.
way we work, so what we're trying to do is turn that sort of on its head. And then after a couple of weeks, we're going to turn those situations and project them outwardly. So what you do then is you picture people in your life, right? You start with someone who you really love, and then you go to somebody who's neutral in your life, and then you go into somebody who's difficult in your life, somebody who causes you, not great feelings. And again, repeating the same phrases while you're thinking of them. May you be well. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from fear and insecurity. May you feel loved. May you be well. May you be happy. Sorry. Um, and so doing that every single morning for 33 days, again, develops this habit where you automatically think that for people. Okay. And then we supplement that with some fun little exercises throughout the day. So I have them setting a reminder on their phone, right, for every hour. And when the reminder goes off, you simply stop what you're doing and you look around, and everybody who you can see, you simply silently in your head say, I wish you well, I wish you well, I wish you well. And again, it's about forming a habit. And then there's a couple other things, like we're doing gratitude journals. Next week, I'm going to start a Facebook project where you're going to, pick 5 people throughout the week, and or 5 people a day for a week, and just send them a message on Facebook. Just post on their wall, just something that you like about them. Just very simply, not expecting any response, but just simply saying one thing that you like about them. And so again, all of this is just sort of forming a habit so that our baseline becomes compassion, right? Because right now it's like our baseline is not compassion. We have to find compassion somehow, and so this is a way to sort of make compassion sort of your default setting, if you will.
Mm. Mm.
So
And that's more of the natural state of our human
exactly.
being, is what you're saying,
Exactly.
isn't
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I mean, there's strong science showing that that's the way we're wired. And in fact, there's been a lot of my work is based on scientific research as opposed to, faith-based, processes, although they interwave all, constantly. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of science that shows that this is the way we're wired. And after only they've done lots of experiments and research studies that show that even after somebody practices this sort of thing for about 7 minutes, as little as 7 minutes, they're showing the same activity as a Tibetan monk who has practiced this for 40 years.
it?
So it's really the way we're meant to be, and our brains and our bodies really reward us for this work. So yeah, so
That's
that's, you're
great.
absolutely right.
So I can get the same kind of benefit as a Tibetan monk, but without going out there, spending
Exactly.
decades doing it and shaking my head and
Right, right. I mean, the trouble is that the Tibetan monk it's a permanent physical change now. So you have to put in the time to get to that level, but you will have the same, you will echo that same brain activity as somebody who's been sitting in a cave for 40 years. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, cool. Shortcut.
Pretty cool, right? It's all
So
about life hacks, isn't it?
yes, life hacks. What it's interesting there, because you mentioned first you meditate, you focus on self-love, and then you're focusing on the feeling of compassion, and then from that comes the exercises and the practice. Like,
Exactly.
how important is that you do it in that order, that you have to start with self-love first, or then from there move into like feeling the compassion for others? Like, could you
Hmm.
jump to the exercises? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
There's a couple different schools of thought of that. I think it's more of a personal belief for me, is that it's not necessarily that you have to do one before the other for it to work. However, not doing the first step is or doing the first step is helpful in and of itself for many people, again, because we're grown up, we're between the schools that we go to, in school, you're not taught to just love yourself for the sake of loving yourself. You're taught that people reward you for getting good grades, or for, doing well in sports, or it's all about, achievements, right? As opposed to just loving yourself the way you are,
Right. It's like
and so,
transactional, it's conditional.
exactly. That's a really great way to put it. Yeah. And so as we grow up that way, that becomes, again, our habit. We just, kind of, we don't assume love for ourselves. And so just that, can change everything for people, and it has, like I said, I've seen, who would think that would affect parenting, but it does. And as was told to me by a woman who's just been doing it for 1 week, and, and so yeah, so it's not necessary to do it as a 1-2 kind of approach, but I felt that in the 33 days, it was a really great opportunity to sort of serve both needs,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Cool.
so far so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to share, I do agree with that approach. I agree, because when you just try and change behavior on the outside without kind of looking inside first, you can create this conflict where you're never really congruent. There's a resistance because your inside doesn't match your outside, even though you're outside, you're trying to do the right thing. Maybe you are doing the right thing, but there's not that full flow there. There's not like this natural, it's like how I say, like, orange tree grows oranges. If you're an orange tree and you're like trying to force yourself to grow apples, it doesn't quite work. So you have to kind of work at the cause and work on yourself. It's like filling up that tank. If you understand how to really accept who you are and love yourself, be compassionate with yourself, it's out of that overflow that then you can naturally pass that on to other people.
Absolutely. It's really beautifully put. Yep.
Great. I didn't want to take words out of your mouth.
No, I love it. And this is what happens when we start having these conversations. People realize that, that we've known this all along. This is because, again, it's our natural state, and that's the beauty of it, So no, you're welcome to share. Thank you.
and as you were sharing about the Facebook thing, it reminded me that I received a post from you. Oh, this is a while back, but
yeah.
my memory. It's like, oh, that's a really nice thing of you to say, Art.
Yeah, you were part of a project. And it went very well, by the way. So thank you.
I feel less special now.
No, please.
That's great, and I love that. That's brilliant. Thank you for saying that. It's great. And as we close, I just want to ask one final question.
Yeah.
How do you intend to increase your impact going forward?
Every morning I wake up and I try to answer that question. And so the only answer that I've come up with so far is to just keep at it. I'm working with a brilliant man now who's helping me with outreach, and I'm just, it's just like, it's and it's this thing where, once in a while the doubt comes in, a bill comes in the mail and it's like, ooh, like, what am I going to do now? And it's just, it requires a lot of faith, and it requires just faith and determination. And so to answer your question, I'm just, I'm doing everything I can. and I also run a daily podcast which deals with some of this stuff. So I'm trying to get people that way, doing this compassion exercise. And I have no idea what idea I'm going to come up with on Friday of this week, but I hope it's something fun, and exciting. So
well, I'm sure it will be.
It's just, so I'm just out here trying to do it,
That's so good. And just in case people want to jump on that, how do they get onto your podcast?
Great. Thanks for asking. It's called the Mindful Manager Podcast. It's mostly geared towards people who are in business, like I said, like me 15 years ago, who are just dealing with a overload of stress, a lack of emotional intelligence, and just, really living a reactive life with, no structure and no me time and that kind of stuff. But it really translates to everyone. And that's how I try to make it. I try to make it not so much like it's only business, even though that's my primary target. I also tell people that, being a parent is like being a CEO of a family. So, so that applies too, but I've got people in there who are not in business, who are, who have told me that they're really getting a lot out of it. So yeah, it's called the Mindful Manager Podcast, and it's
That's
available on a lot of different platforms. So
sure, that's great. Thank you, Art, so much. And it's, I echo what I said at the beginning of this, was that you're just full of expression. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and I can really I didn't know that I went through such a big transformation, because as I said earlier, I've only known you as this person. I didn't know that what you had gone through to become the person that you are. But thank you for stepping out in faith and being brave and being courageous. And, that's led you to now being able to make the kind of impact that you want to make. Again, what I admire about you is also your ability to stay present. It's like every day you wake up to ask yourself that question. It's like you don't have to have the full picture, and you're just walking in these little faith steps. You just know, okay, today I want to make this difference. Today I want to make a change, and I just take each day as it comes. I love that. It's great. So thank you so much for your time, Art. It's great to have you on.
Andy, thank you. Really, this has been so fun and a real pleasure. And I thank you for the invitation, really.
Thank you, Art.
And thank you for your kind words. It really, it's really nice to hear someone say such beautiful things about myself.
Well,
So thank
they
you.
ring true. They ring true.
I really appreciate that, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Take care. Bye for now.
All right. See you, Andy. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Art.
How did I do?
Amazing. You're just being yourself. And that's,
yeah.
And that's the beauty of this. Because there's no measure. It's like, how did you do it being yourself? Well, yeah, you did great. How did you enjoy it? How was it for you?
Loved it, man. I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. Seriously, it's great to be able to tell my story. It's so rare that you get to just tell your story about yourself. Especially in the coaching business that we're in. It's like we're all about the other person. And it's just really, really very satisfying to share my story. So thank you again.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, and again, you prove the point that there is so much that there is to the person. If you just dig a little bit deeper and understand the type of things that's driven you and the experiences that you've been through that's molded you. So that's really cool. So what happens then at the end of this 33-day challenge? You're a week in. What happens at the end of that?
I don't know.
I love that. I could have guessed you might have said that.
I mean, there's no certificate yet. I'm gonna have to figure something out,
Yeah,
I'll see myself on the 32nd night typing up some sort of certificate to send everybody.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, but the reward is just to see, just to know that people are taking this out into their lives, and I hope to form friendships. I hope to, who knows what'll happen, But yeah, I'm just really excited to do it. And again, it's really about the process, more than the reward, as we were talking about, and the good thing about doing this is that once I get once I've built out this whole thing, day by day, I'm doing it one day at a time now, but once it's all done, then I have it and I can just relaunch it anytime I want to, so I plan to do that, that's for sure. Like, and, next month, do it again, just sort of, just get more and more people involved and just spread that goodness,
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if there's anything that I can do to help, just give me a shout.
I appreciate that offer, my friend. Thank you.
It's cool. So do you travel much these days then?
Not these days, no. I haven't traveled at all, really.
I guess you don't need to. You said you're half an hour drive from heaven.
Exactly. Where am I going? I was moving further away from heaven. What's
That's cool. Great.
I still have family back in New York, so we were back there last summer. We didn't get out there this summer, so probably go back at some point before the holidays or something. But other than that, we got 2 little kids too, so traveling is not necessarily, my kids are 10 and 8 now, so they're getting to that age now where we can think about taking family trips. But again, there's so much to do around here that, and the weather here is amazing. We get 300 days of sunshine in this part of the world. So yeah, so even throughout the winter, it's really very, very pleasant.
Is it even in the winter?
Yeah.
So it's not no snow, anything like that.
We get snow here and there, but it's crazy that it seems like throughout the winter, it seems like every 7 to 10 days, you're guaranteed one day that's going to be 60 degrees and sunny. So if it snows, it's only a few days before it melts, and and also it's so dry out here that the snow is like you literally can blow it off the hood of your car with your breath. It's like it's really kind of magic.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Does the coffee shop still exist?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
Oh.
I actually sold it to the woman who had been my manager at the time. She's a single mom, recovering addict, and so I sold it to her at a very, very favorable price to her, financing it for her and everything. So she's doing great, and it just gave her an opportunity to sort of elevate her life. I was happy to do that too.
That's cool. I will definitely. I've been to New York once. I went a couple of years ago, but I'll definitely look that up. What is it called?
It's called the Beacon Bagel. It's actually it's in the Hudson Valley, so it's about an hour outside of New York. But if you go, it's really worth taking a look at the Hudson Valley. It's a gorgeous part of the country, gorgeous part of the world. It's at the sort of in the Catskill Mountains up there.
Okay.
The Hudson River. It's really, really beautiful area. So it's definitely worth a day trip if you make it to New York.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and you can get one of the best bagels in the state.
Yes, I'm going now. I'm
there. You go.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been really
good
doing this, but also just catching up with you and connecting again.
Absolutely, Andy. Yeah, I've been really grateful for that too, to sort of keep in touch with you, at least peripherally. I see a lot of the stuff you put up on Facebook and everything, and it's really very inspiring. And I thank you for your work.
I appreciate.
And yeah.
I appreciate that.
I love it. By the way, before I go, I wanted to tell you about a book. I don't know if I see all those books on your shelf, and I'm a big reader too. And actually, Larry Warren recommended this book to me. It's called The Go Giver. Have you heard of this?
No.
You got to read it, man. It's so beautiful, and it's called The Go Giver. So like the Go Getter, but the Go Giver.
Okay.
And it's basically a parable about a guy who's in business and like an investment kind of guy, and he finds this mentor who basically teaches him that the best way to business success is by giving first. And and he has 5 different rules. I think you would really enjoy it, and I think it might apply to some of your work too. So
yeah, definitely.
Go pick that up. Yeah.
The Go Getter.
The Go Giver.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah, that's like complete opposite to what we're talking about. The go.
Right. And that's the idea, because everybody thinks about the go getter. It's about getting. And like we talked about before the interview. It's about giving first and making that the priority, and things come back in much bigger ways than if you're just trying to go get. So yeah, read that book. It's really wonderful.
Who's the author?
I'll email it to you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I don't have it on hand, but it's 2 guys that wrote it, but I'll email it to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Art. Awesome.
Andy, thank you, man.
Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch up on social media.
Indeed. I can't wait to see the interview. Thanks again.
Yes,
Andy.
I'll send you the link once it's done.
I look forward. Thanks a lot, man.
Buddy, take care. Bye-bye.
You too, buddy. See you.